Gerry, she's got sillies in there. Only go over if you don't mind the risk of catching the sillies. Yeah, that's it. You err on the side of caution. Should I get your breakfast? I'll get your breakfast. Okay, wait there. Oh dear, Banoos. Oh, actually, come over here, baby boy. There we go. There we go. Now that's what I call breakfast. Good morning, Palin. Morning, Hetland. How's it going? Fifi was just full of binkies. Good morning, Zara. Morning, Eddie. How's everyone doing? How's it going? I am dazed today. Good morning, everyone. What was meant to be an early night of winding down early and being good turned into an insomnia night of being up until gone 3, not being able to nod off. So I'm just feeling a little bit like, good morning, Rob. Good morning, Saffron. Good morning, Kinetic. Ooh. Boop, boop, boop. Xander, thank you very much for the 19 months. I've missed so many of these because of work. Oh, Rafa being poorly. Oh no, I'm sorry you're not feeling too well. I hope you are better soon. I watched a nice video the other day of a sleeping bunny binking himself awake. Ah, having happy dreams. Cute. Good morning, Steve. Morning, Kate. How you doing, Xander? Yeah, it's lovely having you here, but it would be nicer if it wasn't because you weren't feeling well. Yeah, did everyone have a nice weekend? Oh yeah, look at that. You see that patch on that bag there? Some bunny chewed through the litter bag. I had to do a bit of a repair job on it. Gerry looks so fluffy. His molt is really coming through now. He has like a proper molt line down his back. And Fifi's like, she's fluffy in the front. She's got like under her dewlap is where all of her little fluffiness is showing at the moment. Which is frustrating because that's the one bit that she won't let me get to. Morning, Mazira. Work has been a lot. Oh, it's too hot. Yeah, can imagine if you're working outside and what it's been like the last couple of weeks. I mean, thankfully it has cooled down. Just wanted to change the tray. Yeah, just helping out. Good morning, Lifelike. Morning, LJ. I had a very lovely weekend going to see the tennis. It was a big day for someone like me who's used to staying indoors. Morning, Ffion. It was so we were up at like, when was I up? Like 5:30 or so to get the bunnies ready so that I could leave for 6:30 and get the train to London. And then there you go, Fifi. There are still some around you. Can I steal a tuft in exchange for pellet? There we go. There we go, just a little bit. What was I saying? Oh yeah, morning, Crowley. Did you appear on TV? I actually did. Morning, Dave. Gerry, you've got one under your hand. There it is. Good morning, Rob. So, Craig sent us this screenshot whilst we were at the tennis, and he was like, "Is this you?" And even I wouldn't have recognised us from the photo that he sent. And he managed to, he like circled us in this massive crowd shot and was like, "Is this you guys?" Like, yeah. How the heck did you spot us? He was like, "I'd recognise you anywhere." Shocked you went with all the introductions at the start, or what? All the athletes in the royal box. Yeah, there was a lot of people. I didn't really know any of them, because I'm not a sports follower. But yeah, so we got there super early, and it meant that we could sneak over to court 18. I say sneak, it's an open court. So we went over to court 18 and watched like the first match of the day, but it was suspended for rain, and we picked up our little picnic that we got, and then we went to, it was actually a really good match, that one, and we got to see like the first set, which was good. So like where they keep the secret tennis. Yeah, there's like a few open courts that you don't have to have. So you just have to have tickets to centre court and court 1, 2, and 3. And the rest of them, you just have to get in, really. And if you leave to go to the toilet, you lose your seat. So you have to be prepared for the long haul if you are going in there. And then, yeah, it was... then we went to centre court, and we got to see 3 matches on centre court that were all really good. And we got to see Djokovic, who Alex was definitely hoping to see. And yeah, it was just a really lovely day. We walked around, we got a little souvenir from the shop. We got a fridge magnet, because we try and get fridge magnets every time we go out somewhere. Well, like, you know, not just like Sainsbury's, but like every time we go to a thing or a holiday, we try and get a fridge magnet. Good morning, Tom. And then we walked around the museum for a bit, the little Wimbledon museum that they've got, learning about Wimbledon. And yeah, it was just all in all a really lovely day. And the strawberries, oh my gosh, I can confirm that the strawberries are so good. They're like handpicked every day in Kent at 4 a.m. and then driven to Wimbledon for 10 for the start of the day. So like fresh every day. The museum did explain the strawberries and cream. It had like a timeline of what the strawberries do. Like when they arrive, she ringed about for the bunnies. No, I ate all of them. But they were so good, and the vegan cream was really nice. It was a brand that I've had other stuff from before, but I've not had their cream. It was very lovely. Good morning, Ben. It was the life of a strawberry. They literally do that. They're like grown specially for Wimbledon. And then, yeah, they get picked and driven to Wimbledon. So they're as fresh as can be as something that's travelled from Kent to London. Just for that day. And, yeah, they are really nice. Delicious. Morning, cup of tea. Good morning, Joe. What else did we get up to? It was just like we were really lucky with where we were sat because we were on the end of an aisle, which is good for me because like if I'm in the middle, I can get a bit claustrophobic. So we just really lucked out with our tickets. I would love to go next year. It was so nice. The area is really lovely as well. Like, oh my gosh, I dread to think how much houses around there cost. Like these massive, like, I mean, there were some other types of houses, but there was just like these massive detached houses in a fancy part of London. I was just like, these must be like 1.5 million. You know, they're mad. And even so, the people who live there, like some of them will have little coffee shops in their front gardens to try and get all the people walking down. There's just like little opportunity shops selling like hats and rain ponchos and all of this stuff, trying to catch the people going down. But gotta respect the grift, yeah. And then when we were walking back at night as well, they had changed, like some of them had changed into having little hot food shops. So yeah, they got both the morning and the evening crowds sorted. But it's just really nice. And oh my gosh, it's the most like British thing I've ever done is so when we were walking down to go into the queue for the gate, we were like the queue basically, so there was a queue, like say this is a gate and this is a gate, and there were queues for them and they met in the middle and then faced either way. And then there were two stewards that were stood in the middle facing either way, and then on the other side of the road there was the queue to get into one of those two queues. I was like, this is the most British thing I've ever done, is queue for a queue. And then eventually you get from one queue to the other. But to be fair, like getting in, the queue was really long, but getting in was super quick. They had like people checking that you had your ticket and your ID before you went in, and then it meant that when you got to the gate, you were pretty much just straight in. And yeah, it was very quick indeed. I never felt like waiting too long. Kino, thank you very much for the 39 months. How you doing? How's it going? I mean, there were some queues once you were inside that were quite long. Like I didn't have a cup of tea all day because the tea queue was so long, and I was just like, oh, I need to go back in. Morning, Caradin. But yeah. Morning, Scallywag. What was that day morning after a nice late night drunk July 4th with my best friend? I woke up early for a smoke in his backyard, and a bunch of dragonflies, birds, and wild bunnies were getting really close. Ah, cute. Very cute. Oh, how was the strawberry queue? Yeah, we did, okay, so because this is so like posh, but what was the fanciest food store you saw? Well, they have a stall that is just this little fancy cart with an umbrella, and it's literally just for Sipsmith gin. You get these little cans of Sipsmith gin. I think that was probably like the fanciest little thing. But because we're like, when are we ever going to get to go to Wimbledon again? Morning, Drew. We did splash out on getting this like picnic. And because I'm not used to like fancy stuff, thank you for the follow. I was like, so it comes in this like picnic bag that had like it's got like a little bottle holder on one side, and the whole thing's a cool bag, and it comes with like cups and cutlery and napkins and a little Wimbledon designed special picnic blanket and all of this stuff. And we picked it up, and I was just like, oh, do we return the bag here? And they were like, no, this is yours now. So now we have like this Wimbledon picnic bag that we can go for fancy picnics with. And I was just like, oh, I was like, I get scared taking like the soap from hotels, let alone taking this big bag like away with our own Wimbledon cutlery and blanket. Like, what the heck? But yeah, it is very fancy. Good morning, Buckle Bob. Transcribers of the screen printed t-shirt with nice features and performance. My tummy is in turmoil now, but oh well, had fun. I'm glad you had fun. Work was a bad day. It's school holiday, so many customers rushing to the restaurant as if they were Saruman Hawks marching Helm's Deep. Oh no. Hopefully it calms down a bit. It is like a bit warm. It's not as bad as it was, but I've got my fans now, so I'll be fine when I go outside. But yeah, it is still a little bit warm. This morning I put my zip-up hoodie on when I came downstairs because I was like, oh, it feels a bit chillier, and then I took it off immediately. I was like, nope, it was just a freak little chill, and now it's warming up again for the day. But yeah, I was in a bit of a silly mood last night, and I did this order that literally did just have OnlyFans in it. So I put a post on Instagram being like, got a little order, OnlyFans content on next slide, and it was just OnlyFans on the next slide because I found it funny. And then whenever one of my friends replied to it, I was just like, oh my gosh, you looked. I'm shocked. Morning, cow. I tried those ice pods on the cats, but they didn't arrive till the rest of the heat had passed. So they kind of ignored them. Well, maybe like if they've like got used to them being around instead of them being a new thing, maybe that'll give them a chance to become, what's the word? Not accommodated. Is that the word I'm looking for? Just become used to them. Morning, Limewood. Accustomed, thank you. I was like, I know there's a word that sounds a bit like this, but I'm so, like, for those of you who missed me saying at the beginning of the stream, not that I'm any better when I've got a full night's sleep, but insomnia hit me last night, and I was still awake at gone 3. So I'm a bit fuzzy today. A little bit fuzzy. But yeah, that's my excuse anyways. And then of course on Sunday I got to do High Rollers live. I was there live in the studio live doing the high rolling. Definitely not pre-recorded. So that was very fun. Live and alive. Yeah. Did you at least lie awake thinking about Greek mythology? Oh my gosh, yes I did. Because I was thinking about, I've just ever since the peak, stream, thinking more about the House of Atreus. I looked into it because I've always been sort of like, oh, that's quite interesting, like the curse that gets passed down. But I didn't realize how deep the curse goes. Like there were parts of the story that I didn't realize were even worse than what I knew. Like that family, you just did not want to be part of that family. And technically I think it did, as far as I know, carry on, so there might still be people alive today that because I didn't realize that Orestes had babies. I thought it ended with Orestes, but no. But I think maybe the curse ended with him, so I guess I'd be okay now. I had a custard cream milkshake at the weekend. Oh my gosh. I started a new overnight job a couple weeks ago, so I've been up most of the night getting ready to sleep. 11 till 7. My sleep schedule is out of whack. Yeah, I can imagine. Good morning, Hansen. I've been quite lucky with work. I've only ever had to do night work once, and it was on this show. I went to say film, but it was a TV show. It was on this TV show that we were doing. It was like still quite light out, quite late, and we needed it to be nighttime, so we ended up having to stay up and doing the shooting then. But we would, I can't remember what hours we did, but we started that we would work super late, and then every day it got brought forward an hour, so eventually we were doing a normal day. But in a way that was like a bad way to do it, because because I sort of would have rather just doing a week of night shoots and then going back to normal straight away, because every day I'd be like, what hour do we begin? Like, what's happening today? It was confusion, but we got through. Hello, you an angel baby? You little angel baby? Good morning, Clyde. How's it going? How be do? I guess you're having the opposite of the weather that all us Brits are complaining about at the moment. Probably having some quite nice jumper snuggly weather. There you go. There you go. For an All Your Descendants curse, do you reckon it would only work for direct family line? Or are all the cousins doomed as well? Because you'll end up... I don't really know anything about Charlemagne, I'll be honest. I mean, with Atreus, you're an electric blanket. Oh, snuggles. Snuggly, snuggly. Whereas we're having the brain melty flopping weather. Hello. Can I get that snoot? There we go. He really is like a little toddler, with his mum being like, let me just get that. He's like, Mom, no. Which Atreus are we chatting about? I was saying I couldn't sleep last night, so I was up until 3 a.m. And Lima asked if I was thinking about Greek mythology, and I was like, well, now you mention it, yes, I was. But I was trying not to. I was trying to get to sleep, but it's just been, I've just been quite focused in on that at the moment. But yeah, I really enjoyed Daggerheart. I did feel bad that I was bad with adding the dice and knowing which dice to roll. I guess it's one of those things that when it's you, it feels like the gap is eternal. Whereas when it's other people, you're just like, oh, they're figuring it out, and you don't think anything of it. We're watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stuff lately. Did you know they almost made Ninja Rabbits? Wait, what? Aww. They sit so patiently. Mine would have been like, nope, that my snoot. I mean, Fifi would be like that. Gerry he's a squinchy boy, so he's okay with it, but sometimes he gets angry. One thing I've been thinking about is, why is Dr. Snuggles called... I don't know, who is Dr. Snuggles? I don't think I've ever heard of Dr. Snuggles. I saw this thing the other day that was like, did it ever occur to you that Dr. Pepper was a woman? No, sexist. I was just like, oh. But I don't drink Dr. Pepper, so I don't think I've ever thought about Dr. Pepper particularly. The stream is available on YouTube, and I have added it to... So recently I made a playlist on my YouTube of all the TTRPG videos that I've ever been in. I think I can't think if there's any that I can't remember, because then I would have remembered them. But I I have added that one to it, but it's probably quicker to just go to the high rollers page, to be honest, because it'll just be the latest one on there. But yeah, it is on there. But yeah, I think the problem was, for some reason, oh, thank you very much for the follow. For some reason, the dice rolls for combat just were not going into my head. And then because I was a druid and my thing would change depending what animal I was being at the time, I think my brain was not engaging with it for some reason. But having watched the live stream, I think I would remember now what it is I need to do. So yeah, it's morning, JD. Come on in the centre. So if we do end up doing a part 2 and carrying it on, I think I would know. But the problem is, I'll tell you what it is. The problem is I get like maths panic. So it's not even that the sums are difficult. It will literally be like 5 plus 6 plus 2. But as soon as I'm on stream and other people are waiting for me to do it, I'm just like, I can't even tell what these numbers are. Like, what is happening? 5 plus 2? No one can solve this riddle. So yeah, it's just partially that. It's being waited on to do maths that spooks me. Good morning, Dave. So yeah, I think the added thing of being in front of people and on a stream, because it was live, were the things that was just making me be like, it's at least 6, something over 6. When I'm playing D&D, I say the numbers out loud and hope someone does it for me. I think I was subconsciously doing that, because I think I was saying the numbers out loud and just hoping someone would get that. Although there were a lot of times that I'd be like 15 plus it's 15, because I'd solved it but was still saying it out loud. Oh dear, oh dear. But yeah, other than my embarrassment at my crunchiness with numbers and dice, but it was a new system. Like, it was a system I hadn't done before, so there's always like a certain bit of like, what am I rolling for this? So yeah, other than that, which hopefully wasn't too annoying for people watching, Dr. Snuggles is from 1979, so maybe that's why you haven't seen it. Maybe I'd recognise it. Maybe it's something that I've seen but didn't, I've seen in a reference somewhere. I have to have a peep. But yeah, I did really enjoy it. I know some people aren't so keen on like the hope fear rolls, but for me, like, I find that, so for people who haven't played Daggerheart or didn't see the stream, every time you're rolling like whatever it is, it could be you're trying to sneak, or you're trying to jump, or you're trying to fight, or you're trying to, anytime you're doing a roll, you roll 2 d12s and you add the results together, but one of them will represent your hope and one of them will represent your fear. So it's sort of like, if you roll, a 6 on your hope dice, but a fear is 7. I said that in the wrong order and confused myself. And a 7 on your fear dice, it might be that you passed the check, but you rolled it with fear, so there's a complication, and the GM gets a fear token, which they can spend to do something bad, or if you're in combat, there's no initiative, but when a player rolls fear, it means that the GM gets to act, like the baddies get to act. Whereas if you roll with hope, you get to spend hope on various things. And I think for me, very often when I have like because you start off with only 2 hope out of a possible 6, I think it is. And whenever I get that sort of thing in normal, like D&D, etc., I'll be scared to, like, I am a hoarder of those sorts of things. I'm like, I need to save this until I'm using it for something really cool, because I've only got this one chance to do it. Anhol, happy birthday! I've only got this like one chance to do this thing, and then I'm gonna have to wait for like a long rest before I get this back, and blah blah blah. Whereas with Daggerheart, because you're rolling all the time, like there was a time when for ages I just sat on full hope, because I just kept on rolling with hope, and I kept on just getting it replenished, and it meant that I felt I could do a lot more, because it was it was just, it had a way of, you know, actively replenishing it rather than a long rest or a short rest being the only way. So yeah, I liked it, despite how, like, some of the dice rolls I found a little crunchy. Like I said, like combat, I found it a little bit crunchy, but overall I thought it was good. And that will just take, I mean, it's probably easier if you're doing something that is more straightforward, you know, like you are a guardian with a sword or something, you know. Arnhall, I genuinely, wait, let me lean forward for I'm leaning forward for the hat, Fifi, I'm sorry. I genuinely tried to do a food shop today so that I could get banana in, because normally I don't have banana until like Wednesday or Thursday, so that I can have it ready for Friday, buy them a bit green and have them ready for Friday. And I put a food shop through, and I tried putting it through 3 times, and it failed every time. So sadly there is no banana. There's banana chips. I could do banana chips. But yeah, I just tried to do a special food order just for a special one-off banana. But for some reason Uber Eats just would not go through. And then it got to the point where I was like, I've clicked this, like, buy this basket 3 times now. Am I going to have 3 different drivers turning up? Which is 3 lots of shopping. But no, it never went through, and none of them turned up. And I don't even know why. I've never had that problem before. Hello? Are you beautiful? I think you are a beautiful banui. Do you want to wear a hat? Happy birthday, Anho! I hope you have a wonderful, cozy birthday. Fifi, you look so done. Okay. You really, you cannot be bothered today, can you? What breeds are these banuis? This bunny is a Rex. She is full of crime and chaos. And this boy here is a potato. He is a lion head. A little lion head potato boy. And they are both cutie patooties. Are you not? Yeah, she's just like you, Rusk. A little Rex. It is good to be the king. There you go. She is looking a little bit fluffy at the moment because she's molting, so she's got this extra floof. But when you look at her, look at here. This beautiful, beautiful velvet bunny, aren't you? You are. Jerry is like, where have my cuddles gone? I too was getting cuddles. But yeah, she's looking a little bit like extra floofy. Imagine Fifi feels like felt. Fifi feels like, she does feel like just very soft velvet, but like, yeah, she's like the softest Banui I've ever petted. She's which is why it's sad that she doesn't like cuddles very often. The streamers show me all the things I call my girlfriend's dog are taken straight from me. Wait, what do you call your doggo? What do you call the doggo? The doggo-in-law. Gerry, would you like a banana hat? I mean, you won't like it, but... Happy birthday, Anhol, from Gerry as well. A sleepy boy. A sleepy boy, to be sure. I'm sorry. Oh, are you having a toffee? Oh, a little squinch. A little squinch. My two brother and sister, but have very distinct differences in texture of their coats. Ah. Cute. I mean, I guess, can bunnies do, I mean, do you know the ancestry of your bunnies? Can bunnies do heteropaternal superfecundation? The same as cats? I don't actually know. I would assume so, because of the nature of bunnies. But, what word was that? So, heteropaternal superfecundation means being able to get pregnant simultaneously from multiple fathers. So, in the way that cats can hold two litters from two different daddies. They can have two different baby daddies at once. And it can happen to people. So I would imagine that it is just something that could happen for, as far as I know, they both have the same mum and dad. Ah. Cute. I often wonder, because Gerry was bought from a farm shop in Bath, I often wonder if he has siblings that are local. You know, well, I say local, I mean like Bath, Bristol local. But like, are there other, like, whenever I see a lion head of the same age in a local rescue or something, I'm just like, could that be? Could that be another little Gerry brother or sister? But I also imagine that if you're from a place like that, they probably had many a litter. So he probably has some, like, you know, maybe not litter mates, but brothers and sisters around. Bless he. Someday I'm going to have the most obscure knowledge and it came from you. I mean, basically, it's because it's related. The only reason I know it is because it's related to Greek mythology, because it happens a lot there. It happened with Leda, and it happened with Heracles. His mum got pregnant by her husband and by Zeus simultaneously, and they came out as twins. But it became very obvious very quickly which one was the son of Zeus. So, yeah, that's why I know about it. Good morning, Rafi. How you doing? That was an awkward threesome. Well, it wasn't. It was. So her husband was away. Who was her husband? I can't remember. There's too many names that begin with A in Greek mythology, and I have a feeling they're all A names in that. They're like Alcmene and Alcides or something, but that might also be the two. Who is the one? Because I always mix it up with the couple where Apollo just had his little, like, gap year boyfriend for... Oh, Amphitryon. It's one of them. It's too many A names, honestly. But, so... he was away on business, and Zeus fancied his wife. And also, there'd been a prophecy from Hera that the descendant of Perseus would go on to help defeat the Gigantonomy and help the gods. So Zeus was like, I'm going to help this be, like, why shouldn't it be one of my children? So he looked at the descendants of Perseus and he chose one that he took a fancy to whilst her husband was away, and disguised himself as her husbando, and they had a baby. She got Progonat, but then the next night her husband came home and was like, honey, I'm home. And she was just like, yeah, what do you mean? Of course you're home. I very much know you're home. And then they made the love and also got Progante. And then she was just like, oh, that's weird. Like, that was nice and all, but last night was top tier. And he was just like, what do you mean? I was still on the road last night. What do you want about? And then I think they go to a prophet who tells them what happened. And that's when they find out. Like, oh, who else but Zeus? Yeah, so the whole Perseus thing. So Heracles and Perseus are like half brothers, but also he's his great grandfather or something. It's just, yeah, it do be like that. But then Hera found this and was like she found out about that and got Zeus to say, like, the next baby that is born in the line of Perseus will rule all of, is it Attica? Rule all of a big area that I can't remember the name of because I'm bad with locations and names in general. But he was like, yeah, I think he will because he's going to be great. But Hera knew that one of the other line of Perseus was also pregnant, slightly behind. So she got the goddess of childbirth to sit outside of Alcmene's house with her legs crossed so that she couldn't have the baby until after Eurystheus, I think it is, had been born, Heracles' cousin, twice over, I think, because the family is very incestuous. But so then that baby was born first and he got to be the ruler because Zeus could not go back on his own word. And then the midwife, because the plan was to just suffocate Heracles in the womb, not let him be born at all, because she hated him so much. His name isn't actually Heracles, he's something else that I can't remember. He's got like 3 different names depending what version you read. But he was renamed to Heracles because it means glory of Hera, in the hope of appeasing her because she kept on torturing this poor man. And the midwife tricked the goddess with her legs crossed by running out and being like, oh my gosh, amazing, a baby boy, would you believe it? And the goddess was like, what the heck, that shouldn't have happened, and jumped up. And then as soon as she uncrossed her legs, Alcmene was able to have the baby. And for that treachery, she got turned into a weasel, I think. And was it a weasel? It's some sort of tricksy little rodent, I think she got turned into. The difference between Hercules and Heracles is just that is the Romanization of the name. So the Greek is Heracles and the Roman is Hercules. In the same way that you have like, Zeus or Jupiter or Hades is Pluto. They all have their like, some don't. I mean, Apollo is Apollo, Phoebus Apollo. But yeah, witches. There is differences more in the fictional lore. Yeah, they do have like You know, some will be different, but I think a lot of gods just got a bit like stretched to fit different purposes. Like, it always makes me laugh when you see this person was the god of, you know, music and medicine, and also specifically the M25. And you're just like, oh, like, it seems like sometimes things they would just be like, well, maybe they can have this as well, you know, just shove it onto their domain, why not? But yeah, I guess that was just like the fluid nature of whatever people needed. You know, the needs of people were changing. Patron saints are a bit like that, yeah. The Greeks really seem to hate women, that little extra bit. Bloody patriarchal society is glad we moved past those. Oh, yeah, like, some of it is just, like, in a way, you know, there is some fascinating things with ancient Greek society. You know, like when people act as in certain like LGBTQIA things are like new and woke and the future the liberals want, sort of thing, and you just sort of point at Greek mythology and you're like, huh? Very much no. But also in some ways they weren't as, you know, it wasn't just like a big, I think people think, oh, that means it was like fine to be, you know, openly gay and stuff, and it's a bit more complicated than that. But yeah. I find it very interesting. I could ramble on about stuff and chat about this for ages. Hello? What are you thinking? What's going on in there? But I mean, there are like, you know, there's a few stories, probably a lot more than I know of characters in. Do you really don't want this, do you? Do you not? Hmm? No, he's turned against the ice pod. There are, you know, certain people in Greek mythology who went from being typically, well, actually no, there's examples of both, but they go from being, you know, like a man to a woman, and everyone just goes, okay, this is how you live now, that's fine. And you know, that's like thousands of years ago. And it's like, why did that not carry on? Why did people not just go, oh, okay? But there's like, yeah, Tiresias is one. I mean, Tiresias, I don't know super counts because Tiresias changed back again. Did a little, and it was more of a punishment thing. But you've got Caneus as well. There's I can't remember the actual person's name, but it's the child of Galatea, but not the Galatea from Pygmalion. It's a different Galatea. Who changed, and there's a whole very interesting thing that came from it, of this. There's this particular town, I think, where all children would just be brought up the same. Like, all children would wear, you know, quote unquote girl clothes. But I guess at that point it's children's clothes, until they would reach a certain age, and then you would have like you know, a ceremony to sort of be like, okay, from now on, I'm now a man, sort of thing, or a woman, but I can't remember the name of that place, or indeed the name of the person who started it all. But yeah, but yes, there's a bunch of religious Christian and Jewish medieval writings from people who are very much what we call trans today, and I'm sure at least one or two would call non-binary. We've always existed. Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I know this is a bit of a jump in topic, but it's like how people act as if tofu is a new thing. People will be like, oh, there's, you know, the woke left and the tofu eating wokerati, and I'm like, tofu has been around for thousands of years. Like, it's not a new invention. It's not this something that, you know, invented in 2002 to be annoying to Tories. You know, it's just people have survived off it for a very long time. But yeah. Oh dear. Look at this little guy. Someone that was in Missouri, did you ask who is the god of bunnies? As far as I know, the closest thing, confusingly, would probably be Artemis, who is like goddess of a lot of animals, but also the hunt. So it's a bit of a... I don't know if you had a specific bunny. I guess the patron saint, I don't know if I'm using that term correctly, is like in more odd sort of closer to home culture is it Melangath, I think, who was this nun who protected bunnies. That there was a hunt going on. I think she was Welsh but moved to Ireland, but I might have that the complete other way around. No, I'm pretty sure that's the right way. But yeah, there was a hunt going on, and she protected bunnies by hiding them underneath the skirts of her dress. And I think the person hunting them was so moved by this that the land became sacred land where they were protected. But yeah. But jeez. Look at Gerry, he is a little baby boy. Apparently she was born in Ireland but died in Wales. There's one way or the other. Went between the two. Had dual citizenship. I saw this article recently that was like, did Odysseus stop in Ireland in the Odyssey? Because the description of this bye Kaino. The description of this island sounds very much like it could be Ireland. And the whole article, I read the whole thing, and it was pretty much just like, we think it might be because we want to. I was like, okay, good for you. Why not? Go for it. I mean, he did take a bloody long time to get home. So maybe maybe he did the full tour. And then some people are saying like, oh, I think maybe it was actually America. But yeah. He just took I say he took a long time to get home. Didn't he live in one particular place for like 7 years? In fact, was that the place that they were saying was Ireland? Did he live in Ireland for 7 years? But yeah. As for non-binary, I don't know of... I mean, there's the... I know of like one it's not that I sort of hesitate to talk about it because it's not the nicest of stories, because Greek mythology rarely is. So excuse the language. But there is more closer to an intersex person, but it's like, I don't know if they had the language of non-binary in Greek mythology. It's not something I mean, they probably did, but it's just not something I know about particularly, because I know more about the myth than the history. But in myth, like the word hermaphrodite comes from Greek mythology, because it is the child of Hermes and Aphrodite. But it's not a comparison I'd super like to make, because they weren't born that way. It happened to them in not the nicest of fashions. So it's not really something that I'd be like, oh, yay, this is a celebration of this, because it doesn't feel that way. They were basically like, so Hermaphroditus was born male, but this nymph wanted to couple with him and sort of did so against his will. And when he tried to stop it, the nymph called up and was just like, please let us never be parted. And whichever god was listening at the time was just like, I'm going to make it so that you combine, sort of thing, which is why the word comes from that. So yeah, it's not the, the like, it's not like they had a person who was born and celebrated as intersex or anything. Apart from Zeus, am I right? He was very intersex. Sorry. But yeah, I guess but to be fair, I only have a very, very like base knowledge of Greek mythology, so there might be characters that I just don't know about. It's like one of the things that I've always found odd is that in all of Greek mythology that I've read so far, there's like, I mean, up until like the days of Sappho, there is so many like male lovers, but I don't know if there was any, like, there's implied people imply that was Artemis. Artemis was a lady who lived in the woods bathing with ladies all day, so people are like, she was clearly very gay coded. But there's never any, like, as far as I know, there's no characters who they're like, oh, yes, they had I mean, people don't tend, like, in the stories, don't tend to be like, everyone's pansexual, essentially, is what I'm getting at. I don't think there's any explicitly gay gods or anything, but there's, like, also, having said that, there is, what's he called? Some of the erotes, which are the gods of various states of love. So there's Eros, who is like erotic love, and then Hymen maybe is one of them, who is like the marriage bed. I can't remember. I'm not very good with these, but I have a feeling that there is specifically one of those that is for erotic male love, but I can't remember their names. But the Greeks had so many words for love and all of its like complications. But yeah, just no lesbians. In all the times of people all the gods taking various lovers, there just never seems to be. And part of me wonders, is that just the state of the society at the time? Like, was it because women didn't have a very high status in society and were seen more as, things for men? Or they were all just on Lesbos, yes. But, you know, when you get down into the days of Sappho, I think there's obviously, you know, things that are getting slightly more than implied. But I'm just surprised, like, in all the times of, you know, Hermes and Dionysus and Zeus and Apollo, they all take, I think even Ares, they all take male lovers. But yeah, you never hear, I mean, to be fair, I guess it doesn't help that half of the goddesses are virgin goddesses and say that they want nothing to do, but they do explicitly say they want nothing to do with men. So maybe there's more and it just wasn't, you know, focused on or written about. Like I say, with Artemis, it's always sort of like implied and coded, but just never said. But yeah, there was another thing I was going to say and I forgot. I've just been rambling on. Oh yeah, so in Greek society, obviously that is a span of a long time, that you can't really say one thing that applies to everything, but I know that there was a time where it was sort of seen as like you would have, I guess, gay male couples, but it was more like it tended to be, I mean, it's slightly problematic as well as being also slightly accepting, but it's I think it tended to be like a elder man would take a younger male lover, and it was this sort of attitude of like, I'm not gay, my boyfriend's gay sort of thing, rather than you weren't really seen as like, yeah, it's a bit of an odd one, which in these days you're a bit like, oh, it's basically just like a civilization of, you know, it's good to be a bear, but it's bad to be a twink. You were looked down on if you were a twink. But everyone wanted one. But yeah. It's just, I remember seeing a quote recently that was just like, the Greeks invented sex, but the Romans thought to add women. I think it comes down to that, really. But yeah, it was seen as manly to be a top, I guess, was the modern way of looking at it. But there was also, like, you know, quite the age gap, which I guess was fine in those days, but would be very problematic these days. But I guess it's like Zeus and Ganymede is like the original sort of blueprint for that sort of relationship, I think. But yes, anyway, I've rambled on about this for a long time, and you asked me to do a too long didn't read of the Curse of the House of Atreus, and I didn't even do that. I'll do it quickly. So it starts off with Tantalus. So Tantalus was the original. So this is the grandfather of Atreus. So this is how deep the curse goes. Tantalus decided to, I'll try not to ramble on too much. He decided to test the omniscience of the gods, and he killed his son Pelops and ate him, but he served him up. Well, he didn't eat him. He served him up. He like hosted a dinner of the gods to see if the gods would really know that he had done this. And of course the gods, like, they immediately knew, apart from Demeter, who at the time was preoccupied with thinking about, because at this time Persephone had just been kidnapped by Hades and she didn't know where she was. So she was preoccupied and she nibbled a little bit of Pelops' shoulder and ate a little bit and was like horrified by having done this. But the gods were so horrified that they cursed Tantalus to be in probably Tartarus. He went to hell. He's cursed with, he sits in a pool of water, but when he reaches down to drink the water goes down. He has a branch above him, but when he reaches up to get the fruit, the branch goes out of his way, and there's constantly a rock above his head that threatens to fall down and crush him. So basically he can never be satisfied, which is where we get the word tantalizing from. So then they brought back Pelops to life. Hephaestus crafted him a new shoulder, and he was told, on your way. So you would have thought he would live a good life, but no. He set his sights on, is it Hippodamia? It's one of the hippo people. Hippo meaning horse. He wanted to marry this woman. But she could only be married by someone who could beat her father in a chariot race. So Pelops worked with Myrtilus, I want to say, to sabotage his, her father's chariot so that he would be able to win and marry, let's say, Hippodamia, because I can't think of what her name was. And there's various versions of this, because the reward is meant to be that Myrtilus is allowed Hippodamia's virginity should they win. That's part of the deal. But not every source says that. So the chariot, I think her dad gets killed. I think the chariot gets very sabotaged. The wheels come off or something. He dies. So Pelops is like, yay, we can get married now. And then he, depending on which version you read, either Myrtilus tries to claim his reward, and Pelops is like, what the heck, I never said that, and he goes back on his word. Or Myrtilus wasn't promised that and he tried to take it anyway, and he either way, Myrtilus gets killed by Pelops and therefore brings down the second stage of the curse because of the sort of patricide of his father-in-law, but they weren't actually. But either way, double murder has occurred, and going back on his word, because I think Myrtilus, as he is killed, shouts, "A curse on all of your family!" And stage 2 of the curse. So then Pelops and Hippodamia have Atreus and Thyestes, I think is his brother's name, ? So Atreus and Thyestes, they, I think, killed their half-brother, bringing down the third stage of the curse, and that's when it gets into the curse of the House of Atreus. But this is already 2 curses deep by this point. So they are not the best of brothers. There's a bit where Atreus is like the king. I guess he's the older brother, and he is the king of wherever they are. I can't remember where they are. But is that Attica? Or is that... I don't know. I'm not good at the areas. But he is king. And he... Where does this even start, all of this stuff? So he is told, for some reason, I can't remember why, that he will be given a golden lamb, I think it is. And his wife is currently, she's called like Ariope or something, I can't remember her name, but she's having an affair with his brother essentially, and he's told, okay, you can have this golden lamb, and he's like, I'm going to... No, his brother steals the lamb and then tricks Atreus into saying, whoever has a golden lamb can be king. And Atreus is like, yeah, okay, dude. So he agrees to this, but then his brother has been given the lamb by his cheating wife, and his brother gets to be king. But then Atreus is like, Gerry's running away. But then Atreus is like, okay, well, if I can make the sun rise in the other end. Wait, where does the sun rise? Rises in the east and sets in the west. He's like, if I can make it happen the other way, I'll be king. And for some reason, the gods agree to this, and Helios just does it, just rises the sun in the other end, and all the people are just like, yep, okay, Atreus is the king. So that's their sort of weird backstory. Anyway, Thyestes feels like he has been robbed of the kingdom, and he goes to an oracle and says, how do I deal with Atreus? And they're like, if you have a son with your daughter, who I think is named Pelope. Is very similar to Pelops anyway. You can, the son of that match will grow up to kill your brother. So by this point, Atreus has had Agamemnon and Menelaus, his sons. Thyestes has had various children who I can't remember the name of, but he has a son with his daughter, and this is where the incest part starts of the whole family tree, and that is the child of that union is Aegisthus. I never really know how to say his name, Aegisthus. So he then grows up. His mother abandons him because she's so like horrified and shamed of the union that she clearly did not want. And she abandons him, but he gets raised by shepherds, I think. Oh, no. He's partially raised, but he's suckled by a goat. I remember it now. He gets suckled by a goat. But then Atreus is like, what? And he takes him in and he raises him as his own son. Then he is sent to I think he sent him to kill Thyestes, but then he goes to kill him with the sword. And Thyestes is like, dude, that's my sword. You got that from me. You're my son. You should go kill Atreus. And this is just like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, very good father who didn't raise me and abandoned me, and also, is my grandfather and my father. So he goes back and he kills Atreus. Agamemnon and Menelaus, I cannot remember for the life of me why they have to leave. But at some point, they have to leave. I think I always mix up that they killed a half-brother. You've got the hiccups. But I don't remember what it was that caused them to leave. But either way, they run away. Maybe it's because their father died. But why do you have the hiccups? What have you been eating that's given you the hiccups? What have you been up to? Okay, so that bit might come back to me, but I can't remember. So now we go to Agamemnon and Menelaus. They go to, they decide they want wives. So Helen of Troy fame, she is so beautiful that Odysseus comes up with this idea that everyone should sign, because he's worried that someone will, if one person wins her affection, everyone else will be so angered that they get the most beautiful wife in the world, and it will start a war. So he doesn't want infighting with the Greeks. So he says, you have to put your name in they basically do a raffle for Helen's affection. But the subtext of this is, if you enter this raffle, you have to defend her. You have to be loyal to well, not her. They don't really care about women. But you have to be loyal to Menelaus. If anything happens to Helen, we will fight together. We will go to war for this union to protect them. So basically that was to protect the Greeks, that if anyone tried to, steal Helen, the Greeks would all beat you up, essentially. And Agamemnon married Helen's sister Clytemnestra, and they go about their day. But Agamemnon a bit later, here's a fun fact, Clytemnestra's first husband was called Tantalus, but not that Tantalus. Anyway, so Agamemnon gets on the bad side of Artemis by hunting a sacred deer. Sacred, and also bragging that he was a better hunter than Artemis, which is just like a really bad thing to do. She's one of the most vengeful goddesses that you could ever get on the wrong side of. But he annoys Artemis. And Helen is stolen by Paris because Aphrodite... This is a whole other part of the story. So... can I too long didn't read the whole of the Trojan War beginning? Basically, Paris was asked to decide who was the fairest of them all between Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena. And they all told him that they would reward him with various things. And he chose Aphrodite because Aphrodite said, he showed him a vision of Helen and said, you can marry this woman if you choose me. So he chooses Aphrodite. But basically, any decision he would have made would have led to the Trojan War. It would have been building up to that anyway. So it was a doomed decision. And fun fact, he was chosen to do this, to make this big life-changing decision, because he correctly judged a cow competition in which either Ares or Apollo, I think, was hiding as a cow. And they said that they were the best cow. And that's why they were like, this seems like a guy to decide the fate of the entire region. Anyway, so he judges Aphrodite. He steals Helen, who had already... This is the second time Helen had been stolen before. She was stolen by Theseus years before this as a child. And this rouses everyone together. They have to go to war against Troy to get Helen back. So they set sail. Agamemnon, who has annoyed Artemis, none of his ships get good wind because Artemis is like, you stole my favorite deer from me. I'm going to take... This is the next part of the curse. I'm going to take what you love from you, and says that he has to sacrifice it's something like the thing he loved most from that year, which was his daughter Iphigenia. So the Trojan War is sort of, even before they've set sail, starts off with the sort of leader having to sacrifice his daughter in front of everyone, which is a bit horrendous. So he sacrifices Iphigenia, who some believe got turned into a deer at the last second, and she was actually saved and raised as a sort of nymph to Artemis. But either way, his daughter is dead, which angers his wife somewhat. Clytemnestra is now very angry and has 10 years of Trojan War to brood upon how angry she is about this. So then the Trojan War happens. We don't have to worry about that. So Agamemnon returns home, and Clytemnestra has taken up Aegisthus as her lover in the time that he has been away. Aegisthus, you remember, is Agamemnon's cousin, his dad's brother's son and grandchild. So it's like his cousin twice over that that his wife has now taken as a lover in this time. Agamemnon gets home. He's brought home a concubine as well. He brings home Cassandra as his latest conquest. And he turns up and he's just like, honey, I'm home. But the last time they saw each other, he was sacrificing their daughter, and he brings home a bit on the side after 10 years and expects to be welcomed back. And she's just like, of course, darling, come in, come in. And she pours him a bath. After he has this bath, she puts a robe on him where she has sealed up the arms. He is now bound in this robe, and she stabs him to death. So in some versions, Aegisthus kills him, but I prefer Clytemnestra getting to do it. Either way, So they have a son called Orestes together. And Orestes is then put in this place where he has to avenge his father. Like, the rules of the Greek society means he has to avenge his father, but in doing so, he will be killing his mother, which is matricide. So this is where the curse comes to a head of like all these lines of curses where he kills his mother, and then he is just hounded by the Furies for years and years and years and years. But eventually they have a trial. They just have a little trial of the gods. It's Artemis and Apollo. He has to go and steal this thing from a... He has to go and steal this thing from like a temple of Artemis because Apollo tells him to, like it's a proper thing that he does. And he goes on this big journey, and he basically clears the entire list of family curses, and he is allowed to live. And you know who he marries? He marries Erigone, who is the child of Clytemnestra and Aegisthus. So his half sister and second cousin, question mark. And yeah, so they get married because why not? And then they live without the... Well, they sort of live without the curse, because some say that he had 2 daughters and one of the daughters died in a horrific way at 7 years old, but then some versions have her living a long life and getting married. So sort of the curse is over, and yay! The end. Fun fact, his first wife was called Hermione. But yeah, there you go. There's also like Electra is his sister, who's in there somewhere. But that was my too long didn't read of The Curse of the House of Atreus. I forgot 1 or 2 parts of it, but that's the gist of all of it. Ta-da! I hope that was fun. I hope you learned something. At some point Agamemnon went back and killed Thyestes and became king of wherever his dad had been usurped from, but I can't really remember. I'm not very good with the places. Do it again next Mythology Monday. Aww. I should decide what I'm streaming later. Oh, I finally got this so tough that I've been trying to... Well, hopefully the extra 20 minutes of waffle makes up for the fact that the bunnies' greens weren't delivered, so they didn't get to have a little treat. So hopefully extra time watching the baby boy made up for that. Oh, there's no treats at all. No, I've got to pop to the shop and get something now for the babies. But I'll show you what they get when they get. No one would have noticed if you didn't tell them. Oh no. Oh no. Gosh darn it, Gerry, pretend you're reading something quick. Here you go. Yum, yum, yum. They will definitely have greens tomorrow. I'll make Hemkin sure of it. But yeah, I just wish I was better at remembering the names. I remember I think the thing is with Greek mythology is it is sort of more important to remember the vibe rather than remembering all of the details. Because, to be fair, like, a lot of the names anyway, it'll be like, in this version of the story, it's this person, but it's this person if you read this one. So sometimes there's, like, 3 names to remember anyway, depending whether you're reading, like, you know, whoever's version of it. But yeah, there you go. But Clytemnestra is sort of held up as being the opposite of Penelope, who was seen as this, like, crazy faithful wife. rather than Clytemnestra, who is probably the person who we was the side piece Cassandra the one who did the prophecies? Yes, Cassandra, a princess of Troy and a cursed prophet. But yeah, shall we go to see Raffi? Raffi could be nice to pop in and see. Boop 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 boop. But yeah, Cassandra sort of knew what was going to happen when she went in. She knows that Agamemnon's going to be killed when they get in. And sadly, the thing that does make me sad about Clytemnestra is that she also kills Cassandra, which seems unnecessary. But I guess, you know, once you've got the taste for a little bit of murder. Whereas it's not Cassandra's fault that she's there in that scenario, you know. All of the Trojan princesses get a very bad deal. Which is one thing I would like to see more of in Greek mythology, is I wish there were more, you know, for the girls, but they ain't so much, sadly. Anyway, I hope you all have lovely days with all of that info dumped on you. And I'll let you know when the bunnies get their little snack. And I shall... Oh, do we get another flop? A little dig and then maybe a little flop? He doesn't know. He's not sure. Well, everyone, look after yourselves, stay hydrated, be good, and I shall see you at 2 for something that I've not decided yet. But when I do, I will have... Raid's gone, oh no. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. A boop. Boop.